now we will open up for questions first from the advisors and then from the floor.
Excellent work, Mr. Ronczewski. And I was quite impressed by the fact that you took your 40-page essay down to a very engaging presentation for your classmates. I'm going back to the very beginning of your talk and looking at communication, and one of the things you talked about was color. Can you explain to me something you wrote quite well about in your essay, but didn't talk about in your presentation? Why did you choose the color yellow when you had your slides that talked about the summary point?
I chose yellow because when I was researching my paper, I found that yellow is a color that forces you to pay attention, which is what I was going for, the takeaways. My dad has a magazine called Ramp. In Ramp, everything you have to pay attention to is in yellow.
Can you talk to us about Amazon?
Oh, all right. So this doesn't really have anything to do with the takeaways, but there's a study that the click-through rate, how many times you click on something, if everything thinks green means go. If it's green, you'll click on it. But the actual study is if it's yellow, you'll click on it 14% more than if it's green. So, yeah. And Amazon uses yellow buttons for everything.
Yeah. And you buy a lot of things from Amazon.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Great presentation, Alex. Awesome. Since starting this presentation and starting to work on it, how has the way you look at advertising changed? Do you look at advertising differently now when you see a newspaper ad, a TV ad? What things do you think about now differently than when you started this project?
I think it's changed a lot the way I look at advertising. When I look at TV ads, I notice minor details. I like to not look at the main character or what they're doing, but look around. You always find a logo, maybe something to do with the brand, something like that. And for advertising in general and for marketing, I see a lot more things in Whole Foods when, you know, all the bins that have like the wood on the side? So those bins aren't actually covered with wood and aren't boxes. If you like knock on it, it's hollow and everything, and it's not real. That's to make you feel like it's rustic. So I think I see more, at least I hope I do.
Do you think, just follow up to that, do you think that has made you as a consumer a better, smarter, more informed consumer? You're now able to kind of see what they're trying to get you to do, or in some cases, see what they're trying to trick you into thinking?
I think a lot of the times I won't see what they're trying to do because I think they're smarter than us. But I hope it's changed a bit. I hope I see a bit more.
Well, I would think that I think you're smarter than a lot of advertising people, I'll tell you that right now.
Thank you.
Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Alex, thank you for a great presentation. And it was really interesting as you're presenting some of the ads in your presentation here. And all of a sudden, we lost connection to the world with the internet. And the audience was waiting. The audience was for about a minute, 2 minutes. You're all waiting for more information, if you will, to come to us. And I guess what I'm wondering here is, as you've studied this, because we started off with looking at an ad for 1984, which is pre-internet.
Yeah.
Do you think it's in this era of communications that companies can actually communicate to you without the use of the internet?
Well, from what I've noticed, newspaper and radio ads are not so effective as they used to be. So I think that a main role now in marketing is social media marketing, which now really can elevate a brand within a few clicks in a few hours if they do something really, really right. So, well, hard question, but I think it would be hard, but if they could do it all before, I think they could still do it. I think it would be a lot less effective, but it would still work.
Very good.
Thank you. Mr. Ronczewski, fantastic. I even forgot that we lost internet there. I just got caught up. But you did that masterfully, by the way, waiting for us, or that. I have one question before we take questions from the floor. Earlier you mentioned that when you go to Poland, you like to watch the commercials.
Yeah.
Well, what's different about their commercials than our commercials?
I don't know. There's just something. Just a certain thing. Maybe it's the language. Maybe it's the advertising over there. I don't know. There's just something really special for me. maybe it's something associated to me going there like every year and watching them.
Very nice.
Add to that, Mr. Ronczewski. We had a meeting that we talked exactly about this, and I believe that you felt that European ads moved more towards sort of a sarcastic or a more intelligence, whereas like the WhatsApp commercial maybe would not be shown in Europe, where it has a huge following in America. Did you find that the Polish commercials that you watched as a kid, that they made you think more?
Well, I wasn't really thinking when I was watching them, but maybe.
All right, we'll take questions from the floor.
Congratulations, Mr. Ronczewski. That was excellent. I have a question. As you've gone through this study of advertising and the psychology and science behind it, I wonder, in our world today, if you look at the distinction between ads and news any differently, because in many ways, our world today, it's hard to distinguish, and we hear out in the news about fake news and things like that, and I wonder how your study of this has perhaps empowered you a little bit better to distinguish between the news and other media aside from the advertising world.
I think it's changed me a lot with marketing and TV ads, but I don't think it's affected news. I think that's just a bit more separate. I don't know. I think it hasn't.
So Alex, when you were doing your commercial, why didn't you show the ferry? Like, it's the most common way for most of us to get to school.
It's because it's boring. It's like showing a school bus. There's no point.
Good point. Great job on your Masterworks.
Thank you.
So I noticed even in your own commercial, the ones that you were talking about that had the highest impact or reach were really high production value and would be very, very expensive. Do you think that you can make a high impact commercial with, do you have to spend a lot of money on it?
If you have a good concept, then I think it's doable, of course. If you have a great concept, anything is doable, but I think it will be a lot harder because you have less resources. You have a worse camera, everything. Worse actors if you're using actors, and you can't hire celebrities. It's going to be a lot harder, but yes, it's easily doable. Well, not easily, but yes, it's doable.
So of all the 4 aspects, which one was most interesting?
You mean like communication, learning? Yeah. I think memory was the most complex one, but I think I learned the most.
Well done, Mr. Ronczewski. Congratulations. I'm just wondering, what do you have to say, or can you comment at all, or did you come across in your research some of the more negative effects of these advertising, particularly with regards to how women are depicted or targeted audiences such as children?
I was not looking at that, but yes, I did come across a bit of it. Mostly what I came across was in the 1980s, because I did a whole section on history in my paper, when they started making like advertising shows like G.I. Joe and Care Bears and others and stuff. So that's really what I came across, but I was not focusing on it, so came across a lot less.
Well done, Mr. Ronczewski. I have a question about your experience watching commercials in Poland. Did you ever see commercials that were a version of commercials that you had seen or been exposed to in Canada? And I'm wondering about if so, if there was, did they re-edit or change something for that region, or is there do advertisers do that in general? If you didn't see that, yourself?
There were commercials similar, like there's like a Home Depot, a Polish Home Depot, and there were similar commercials, but it wasn't the same. And like if you're talking about like commercials with more of a budget, they were not the same. All of them were different.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, some more? Just while I move, Mr. Ronczewski, do you think there's an important Is there a moral code amongst advertisers that they need to follow?
I think you can't just blatantly lie. I think that's one of them, or else it'll be taken off the air. But I'm sure there is one. I just didn't look into it.
Hi, Mr. Ronczewski. This is a bit of a two-part question. But I don't think any of us here actually ski or wingsuit to IPS. Do you think that you might receive any criticism for overselling the school?
Okay, lawyer man. I think you can't really criticize me for overselling the school. It's my job when I'm making a commercial. But I think there could be criticism, but you know, if it's on the air, then that is. As for the second part, do you see a lot of criticism for overselling products in your research? Once again, I was not looking at it, but if you really, really, really like oversell it and lie, there's gonna be a lot of like negative feedback. Like, it's gonna be probably taken off the air and a lot of negative feedback. But I didn't come across it because I didn't focus on it.
Thank you very much.
Just so you know, Joel, I have skied to school, so.
Great presentation. After you've did your Masterworks and all this research, are you at all interested in pursuing a career in advertising?
I'm not sure yet. I don't know what I want to do. I still got a bit of time.
That was really well done. You obviously said some of your inspiration came from watching commercials in Poland, but were there any other like really influential things or people that you came across that made you want to do this for your project?
Probably one of the first influences was my dad found the book. It was about kind of what I did my Masterworks on, and he said it was really cool. I was completely like, didn't want to listen to him, but he basically just explained the whole book to me. So that kind of started it, and my advisors really helped me really like go into TV ads and pursue it farther. So, yeah.
What are your thoughts on having different logos affect selling? Like how different company logos, like how they look, does that help a company sell more?
Do you mean like if the logo itself helps sales?
Yes.
I think everything helps sales. It may be a minor thing, but, well, it's not a minor thing, the logo's a big thing. But yes, the logo will help sell. If it's an easy logo to see, then it'll catch your eye. Like Coca-Cola Red, it's a copyrighted color. And every time you see it, you think, Coke. So I think the logo is vital to really selling advertising.
Mr. Alex, how do you think social media has changed the way that companies advertise today?
I think they advertise on social media and can do more interactive campaigns. And they can share the commercials and advertising more. They can like put out, oh geez. They can put out promotions very easily on social media. So I think it's really good for marketing.
Mr. Ronczewski, is there anybody who is not affected by advertising? Is that a thing?
I think everyone's affected in some way. Everywhere you go, there's advertising. Like someone wearing Nike shoes, that's in a way advertising.
Good point.
Actually, to add on to that, like somebody's saying, like, oh yeah, I saw this commercial on Nike. You didn't necessarily see it, but they told you, so that also counts.
Yeah, that's also advertising.
Any other questions? Oh, Ted.
Well done, Mr. Ronczewski. You mentioned 3 different kinds of learning: active, passive, and implicit.
Yes.
And you seem to think implicit had a lot of mileage to it. So my question is this: is there a way to intentionally activate implicit learning in schools?
Is this for your book?
Maybe.
If you were to really try and concentrate on something, it would just go to active learning. I think implicit learning just happens all around you. Let's say I'm concentrating on reading this. Out of somewhere, everywhere, I can see someone's doing something. So I don't think you can intentionally turn it on, because if you really want to, if you're really going to try and turn on a type of learning, it's going to be active learning. I think because you can't turn it off. It's always going, so I don't think so.